various skills, but they let you do really cool stuff um, like take less time, show off. One of my favorites is never have to overcome this challenge again, which is really great if you're doing like an exploration sequence. You climb up somewhere and okay, I don't have to climb, I don't make climb checks anymore. Um, so that's the basics. It's very simple, very straightforward. One of my things I like about it is I can explain the entire core of the game in about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It's amazing for convention play.
Yep.
I've never had anybody ask more than a couple of follow-up questions. And if I have a reference sheet, it usually takes care of all of them. Um, so the one thing I want to get into mechanically is there's some really interesting mechanics in this game
Mm-hmm.
that support that survival horror feeling. Um, and I want to go with I want to start off with the most obvious one, the stress and panic rules. Um, these were the things that sold me on the game,
Yeah.
both how they manifest and how you can help soak them or get rid of them, because it makes for a really interesting narrative to back up what's actually happening in those characters. um Bridgett, could you briefly describe how the stress and panic works?
Yeah, absolutely. Be happy to hop in there. I'm just going to okay, so it's chat. You guys can still see and hear us. It looks like, oh, well, I see Doc just says Streamlabs is disrespectful, so I'm gonna assume it's tuning in. Yeah, okay, it's weird. My Streamlabs on my end completely refreshed and was like, nah, we ain't here today, and apparently we are. All right, thank you, thank Andy, A, Doc, Bucho, Heather, Valley Girl. All right, I love you guys. Thank you so much. Okay, so the question you just asked me, Carl, was to explain the stress and panic mechanics.
Yeah.
Okay, so the quick and dirty on this one, and to echo what Carl said, if you're a new mother, that's the GM in this system, and you're thinking about rolling this out at convention play, the Year Zero Engine 1 is super intuitive. And to Carl's point, you can get a hot sheet to put in the middle of the paper in unlaminated or a sheet protector or just a printout, and you can explain the whole game in under 5 minutes. You can go. My favorite mechanical aspect is actually what Carl just asked me to explain, and it is the stress and the mechanic system that is embedded into the in the storytelling and into the narrative. So basically, what happens is during the course of play, things cause you stress. You see a xenomorph, or you hear a sound scratching behind the wall, or someone that you love is in jeopardy. Things add tension and stress to the game, and those are a ticker that you keep individually. Everyone's stress starts out at 0, and then it goes up to 1, 2, 3. There are things that you can do to reduce your stress, like interacting with a signature item that's meaningful for you, bantering with another teammate, getting rest, being in a safe location for a period of time. So your stress is this moving scale that you have to keep on your, you have to keep track of on your own. That can go from 0 to however gnarly your mother wants to be at the point of storytelling. This mechanically complements very well with the panic mechanic that Alien has built. So basically, what happens is your stress is incrementally increasing, and then an event happens that causes you to panic. And we can discuss that later. Sue can probably go into much better articulation than I can on that one. But basically, when a panic happens, either it happens because it's incited by a dice roll or by you coming into contact with just the unimaginable, there's this whole new flavor profile that rolls out. So let's say I do a roll, it triggers a panic, and I get an 11 on my total cumulative panic score, whatever it is. And if once you see the chart, you'll know better what I'm talking about. But let's just say I get an 11, and there's a chart that Mother has that says if a character panics and they hit one of these numbers, this is the associated action that happens with it. So you get some of your agency taken away, but it's in this really fun narrative way. So let's just say you hit an 11 or a 12, and the panic is scream. Well, your character begins to scream. That's what your character does for that moment. But there's these little sub things that could happen. Your screaming could trigger another person into screaming. Your screaming could reduce your stress because you actually feel better by getting that off your chest, but it could also antagonize and aggro everybody around you. So there's all these flavorful things that come from like a nervous twitch, with some mechanical booms, screaming, running away, fight or flight. There's all these very human reactions that you see in horror movies and horror genre and horror games that roll out once your stress is triggered into a panic.
Mm-hmm.
That was a ramble, but I hope y'all caught it.
Yeah, that was good. Sue, anything to add about the panic mechanic?
I think it adds a lot of unpredictability to how a dice roll is going to go. The last game I ran, I had a character who was up to 10 stress. He was running for the spaceship. We were confident he was going to succeed because of the giant pile of dice he was rolling, but also fairly confident he was going to end up panicking because of
Mm.
the giant pile of dice he was rolling. So, yeah, what happened is he ran for the spaceship, made it, got away from the monsters, and then passed out catatonic when he got to the ship.
That's
Oh,
awesome.
that
So, yeah,
is
that's why I love this
awesome.
stress mechanic. You just don't know when things like that are about to happen.
Yep. I there's a talent in the game that I really like that is like this weird trap that I give to at least one character, where you treat your actual bonus to panic as 2 points less
Oh yeah,
than it
yeah,
is.
yeah.
Um, and and it was funny because I used Alien to run a Jurassic Park game, and
Yeah.
Bridgett actually ended up playing the character with that. And she took it at the beginning. She's like, "I'm great. I'm gonna be fine." And at the end, she was so stressed out because she had like 9 stress, and she's like, "Oh God, what's going on?" Um, have you guys had any and this was something that I was asked to mention specifically, have you guys experienced any memorable panic avalanches? And for context, for everyone at home, a panic avalanche is basically just this escalating cycle of adding panic to the group. One person freaks out, another person freaks out, their freak out re-freaks out the first person, who has to make another freak out roll. um I have not had any of these happen in my games yet, but I've come very close.
Ooh. So you want to take lead on this one first?
Well, I think one thing people tell me when I'm running the game is that I handle the panic spirals particularly well, and I think it's because I only allow people to panic once per turn.
Mm.
Mm,
So if someone rolls that panic that makes everybody else panic, and they all make their rolls and they all make the roll that makes someone else panic, I don't do that because they're already panicking.
that is
I
a
figure chances are the next turn somebody else is going to panic, so we're
yeah,
not
there
missing out on the panic.
that makes sense.
That's actually a really strong house rule. Sue. Just as a quick apples to apples comparison, rules as written with Call of Cthulhu, if you have been triggered by like an indefinite or whatever insanity, indefinite or temporary, whatever, every single point of sanity loss you get from there triggers another indefinite insanity. That's rules as written.
Mhm.
90% of people don't use that rules as written, but that's how rules are written. Apples to apples over to Alien, it's kind of like the same thing. People approach that very differently because rules as written is once you're in a panic and you take any more stress, you immediately panic again. And most people are
Mhm.
just like, we're not doing that. there's already enough going on. We don't do that. So fit your rules to fit your lifestyle and your storytelling.
Yeah.
Carl, I was running Hope's Last Day. A bunch
Okay.
of people had trapped themselves into Bob's bar or Bill's bar. And it's like
Okay.
this 2-level bar, and you had xenomorphs pounding on the door on one side. You had xenomorphs pounding on the door on the other side. And the players had come together with this. Sue is like, I know that scene. And the players had come with this really brilliant concept to break out of the bottom door, distract the xenomorph, and get everyone out and towards the escape shuttle. And guys, it was just like they spent a good 15 minutes on if you do this and you do this, and we wire this, and we use this dead xenomorph we have in here as a shield. The acid can't get past it. We have this one person, we do it, and it was great. I was like, this is a brilliant plan. Like, this has a 99% success rate just for creativity alone until they rolled that dice pool.
Mhm.
They all panicked in a room with no threat in it. Panic avalanche with no active threat in the room. So then I was just like, well, at this point, I'm introducing a threat because this is too delicious. How
That's
about you?
awesome. So I don't have a lot of I've only had a couple of stress avalanches, and they've been kind of vanilla. One player freaks
Hmm.
out, other players freak out. One of the freakouts gets a little bit more panic onto the other people.
Yeah.
Um, but one of the things I really like about the stress mechanic too is how you clear it. Like you have to clear it with like actually seeking shelter, which is great because it says you can get you can shave off a point by spending some time in a safe location.
Yeah.
And it's only like 5 to 10 minutes. But when you're actively running from something or you're actively in a scene, that 5 to 10 minutes is real hard to find.
Ain't it?
um, but one of the things I that really sold me on the system was in the scenario. I was playing the former colonial marine, and one of the other players went into like a nursery or something like that, and ran into our first xenomorphs, and he got a panic spiral that made him freeze. But I was on the comms with him, and I was able to like talk him down from it and use my skill to basically to nullify that action. So I freed him up so he could actually escape. It was so cool because it was like, it was really, really fun. So I don't have a panic spiral moment, but that's my favorite moment that I've had as a player in Alien so far.
That is strong. So through the comms that you were able to unfreeze that person that was in a completely different room. That's dope.
Yeah, it was like, don't look at it, look at the door. It's
Yeah.
not in charge, you are, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Um
That's
and
dope.
it's like it's not forcing you to choose, you were choosing your moment. Now go.
Now go. Oh,
Yeah.
that's so amazing. Oh, I love it. Oh, I love that's good, Carl. That's good.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Um so yeah, the I think stress is probably the mechanic that makes the game most like Alien. Like the weird combination of like fear and adrenaline being represented by the same mechanical system is so cool.
I agree. I agree. And the fear and adrenaline does well because your stress that I didn't articulate. Your stress is a pool. So if you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stress, that's how many extra D6 you're rolling. And to Carl's point, it's just that fear and adrenaline because if you hit a 6 on your stress pool, it's still successful because stress will drive you to succeed. Stress will allow you to push, past certain barriers of fear and trauma and blah 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 to succeed. Stress can also trip you up because if you roll a 1 on your stress dice specifically, that's one of the pre-requirements, to initiate a panic. So no, I absolutely love it because it does that stress pool does really lean into the adrenaline and the fear that you get with an alien game.
Yeah. And I particularly like that unless the action would logically counter what you were trying to do, it doesn't. So it does remove some of your agency, but like unless it says you stop moving and drop whatever you were holding,
Yeah.
then you might pull it off. You might just get more stress or you might freak your friend out. There's a talent for the Marines that lets them just unload their clip, which is not great, but yeah. Yeah, it's not great because then you're out of ammo, but like you didn't freak out technically. So that's the main one that I like. Is there any other mechanics in your guys' mind that sets this apart from other systems? I'll lead off with one. And it's my favorite one from the game system. It's a very small hidden rule about how if you want to off somebody who's like not a monster and not like, you're not in a gunfight with, you have to fail an empathy check. One
Yeah.
of it's the one that it doesn't have a name, but I've always referred to it as the "why is Burke not dead yet" rule.
Right. Good word choice. Yes. Why is Burke not dead yet? No one failed their empathy check.
No one failed their empathy check because even somebody with like a 3 went after him and they still rolled a 6.
Yep. Nope, that's fair.
And I like both I like that there is a rule in the game where you can't just make a choice that would make it easier for you.
Yeah.
Because there's always going to be the person who's working antagonistically to you,
Yep.
or, the mincing business pervert who is like, who is there, like trying to make your life a living hell as you're trying to save their and everybody else's life.
Right.
But heroic characters don't just off people who are inconvenient to them.
Yeah.
And I think that one of the things I like about the game system is that one rule, as well as some of the other ones, really reinforces the player characters as action heroes, even though they're in an incredibly deadly universe.
Good articulation.
That one I worked on.
Like, I prepared for that one.
Yeah, one mechanic I really like, it's not unique to Alien, but it comes up in quite a few of Free League's game, is the random monster attack tables.
Yeah.
Like if I've thrown a xenomorph at someone, I don't know what the xenomorph's going to do. Maybe it's going to make scary noises. Maybe it's going to bite their head off.
Yep. I love that. Most of my scenarios where I introduce a xenomorph or a creature with an attack table, I'm like, they encounter this in this situation. After that, figure it out.
So just because you and I have had this conversation on a very similar like roundtable that we had on Symphony about this game, talk me through more about, as a GM, how you enjoy just using a random table versus coming up with the actions yourself. Because I completely agree with you, but your storytelling with Alien is stronger than mine is, so I'm really looking to learn from you on this one.
I said, normally I'm not using the monsters from the book. I am writing my own random attack tables, which is, to me, that's a lot of the fun of GMing Alien, writing those tables, thinking about the different things the monster could do. So, yeah, it's always a case of thinking about how you're going to escalate things. That there's generally going to be something that's not physically harmful, but may increase stress or cause panic. And there's a low-level attack that might kill someone with no armor and low hit points, but a tougher character is probably going to survive. And then again, of course, you're always rolling dice for these attacks as well. So, well, we've all had the experience of rolling 10 dice and getting no successes.
Yeah.
So yeah, the monster might try its attack and fail. And then if you want a particularly deadly monster like the big queen xenomorph, you're going to put in a number 6 attack that's an instant death. I save those until near the end of the scenario.
Yep.
Carl, I'm going to answer your question, but I have one more quick reverse question for both of you guys. On those charts for your mobs, when you guys are mothering, fun word choice. When you guys are in the mother's chair, do you roll the D6 or do you have the player that's being attacked roll the D6? I'm just curious.
Oh, I roll it myself.
Okay.
But I roll it where the players can see it.
Oh! So when they see the 6, they're like, oh shit.
I usually roll it myself, but a lot of the times I will let them make, if they have it, armor or avoid rolls in defense. So even that 6 that is supposed to like auto give you if you get even one success, as long as they have something, I will usually step it down a little bit if they can succeed. Like I'll still give them a critical hit.
Yeah.
But like they might take a hit to the leg versus through the head.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was curious. What I've been trying to do with my storytelling with the monster charts, I let the players roll it themselves. So I was like, go ahead. This xenomorph is about to hit you on a what? Roll a D6. A 4? Ooh, that's what you really rolled? Man, you're bad. I agree with Sue completely that the monster tables are probably one of my favorite parts of running combat, and that's saying a lot because I genuinely don't enjoy combat in most role-playing games. The monster table gives me a lot of unpredictability, a lot of versatility, and a lot of fun. My next favorite mechanic, I think, or feature of the game is going to be the broken table, or the injury table, or whatever they call that table, that D66 table. So there's this, I think it is the broken table. I think it is. Once you hit 0 hit points in Alien, the role-playing game, you don't die. You take on a condition that's called broken. And broken has a lot of flavor text to it. Like, I think some of the base ones is something effective like you can't fire, you can only do a fast action or maybe a slow action per round. Basically, you're not out of the game. You can still speak. You can still kind of move around, possibly under your own power, but you get these things that tear in on it. So you hit 0 hit points, you're broken. You roll a D66. And per what Sue said, the ones at the top end of that spectrum are like inconvenient. It might be you have a crippling headache, or you're at a -2 for your dex or your agility because blah, blah, blah. But then at the very bottom, 66 is death. You don't come back. You do not cross go. And honestly, I don't think it's 66. I think it's something like 62 to 66 is all very creative ways of death.
Yeah.
Those have been great narrative storytelling moments. to factor in certain injuries into the role play. So if I'm playing with Sue and Carl, and Sue is critically injured and she has a broken condition, it might be punctured liver. And then
Mhm.
giving that to Sue as a little gift for her to role play with is very fun for me, because how do you go through trying to escape the face huggers that are chasing you down the corridors when you have a ruptured spleen or a broken leg, or your eye is falling out? Like, it's this beautiful D66 table of just critical injuries that you have to somehow find a way to navigate through. And I'm a big fan of the broken table.
And it also gives some inspiration for when you're writing monsters. It's like
Yeah. Like
you can have one of the attacks being a inflict critical injury number, whatever.
yeah.
Ooh,
Like
good point.
oh, what was it? One of the things I like about the random monsters too is like giving them one special rule in addition to their table
Ah,
that lets them have some additional point of flavor. Um, like again in the Jurassic Park game I ran, they didn't run into them, but Dilophosaurs, for example, they would always go for a critical hit to the eyes
because there's, yep, okay,
because of their
yep,
spit.
because they're spitters, yep.
Like so the general rule for them was anytime they roll a critical hit, if they don't already have the eyes go first.
Eyes go first. Oh, that's good, but that's very specific to that monster, and to Sue's
Yeah.
point, the flavor profile on how that monster fights. Yep.
Yep. Cool. What Bridgett, did you have another rule that was your favorite? Because that was riffing off of Sue's so far.
Oh, no! I actually jumped off of Sue. So Sue did the monster table, and I did the broken table.
Oh, you did. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
I did the broken table, which that broken table amuses me.
I was there for that. I should have picked up
No,
on
you
that.
were fine. You're fine. We were both working off a table, so there's a good overlap there.
Yeah. All right, so that's enough of the mechanics. I think we can move on to like setting and gameplay experiences that we've had. So I think my general question for the both of you is, what kinds of stories or narratives does this system excel at? And are there any aspects of storytelling that this system struggles with?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Yeah, needs some thinking.
Okay, fair enough. Well, as you guys can tell, like I think I'm very happy with it as a very dangerous but still hero focused, like sci-fi and even military adventure game.
Yeah.
I ran one focused on colonial marines where it ended up being an absolute blast, and it but it was very, very deadly. Like most of the rest of the squad that they went in there with died.
Mm.
Um, but I like it a lot because of that. I think it it would struggle. I think it would struggle for like if you wanted to play out like if you wanted to all be like board directors at Wayland Yutani and like wanted to do that kind of Game of Thronesy political corporate backstabbing stuff, I think it would struggle a little bit with that because the only form of interaction in the game is called the manipulate skill. So it would just be like
Mm.
a bunch of people basically just being assholes to one another. And I don't think the system works very well because the only two responses to that are either do what the person wants or attack them, which makes a lot of
Mm.
sense kind of out of the edges of the frontier, but I don't think it would be suited for like high courtroom drama or politics and things like that.
That is such an interesting estimation. It's making me want to go look, and I'm actually pulling it up right now. That's making me want to pull up the character sheet and just look at it really fast, which is interesting. So you've got your 4 attributes, which you guys are you familiar with these as like your core ones. It's agility, strength, wits, and empathy. And under empathy, it's command or manipulation are the only social skills.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else is either research, strength based, or agility based. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had never considered that, Carl. That is interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
Now I don't think a lot of people are in to play aliens for the court like boardroom drama, but
Right.
they could be. It could be an interesting choice.
Bucho said there's definitely no West Wing in space. In fact, that's
No.
very true. It's absolutely true. So I'll say this much. This is what the semi think that I've had on this one, even though Carl literally gave us these questions like 2 weeks ago. where this story excels. Versatility, I think, is a really big one because of the way the dice pool works, because of the way your allies and your what's the opposite for your allies? It's your friend and your foes. What are they called in Alien again?
Your buddy and your rival.
Your buddy and your rival, the way that works out, and then just the different ways that you can tie in different types of characters, their occupations and things. This game has a really strong replayability aspect for me. Now, I already don't have a problem replaying games. I'll sit through the same Call of Cthulhu module 3 or 4 times, and it's fine. Because the experiences are different when you have different keepers and you have different GMs. But Alien itself, I can sit through Hope's Last Day once a month and never actually get bored with it. Mostly because I think this system lends itself to replayability and diversity in storytelling, which I think is really important. The other thing is, and guys, I can't identify why this is a thing, but it's just a thing. If I need to run a game that emotionally hurts the players in horror, Alien is just a really good default stop for me. If I want to make you hurt, I would rather come to Alien than Call of Cthulhu. I would almost rather come to Alien more than Cthulhu Dark. I'd rather come to Alien than a lot of different systems. Maybe not the dice pools that you see in World of Darkness, but like some of the games that I've written for Alien are my most emotionally visceral games. And I don't know if that's just because the setting really lends itself to discovery, exploration, hopeless horror, but a lot of hope. I know hopeless horror and hope shouldn't go together, but Alien constantly has this underbelly, this thread, this momentum of hope that is channeling, that is pushing through the horror, that can be really inspiring and also can really make you hurt yourself and your players emotionally. Like, I come to Alien to hurt when I start writing for this game. I don't know why. I'll have to sit down and think about it. If I come up with a good answer, I'll let you guys know in the Discord. What about you, Sue? Where does this game excel and where does it fall short? That was the question, right, Carl?
Yeah.
I was just remembering that part of my guiding principle when I sit down to write a set of Alien pre-gen characters is I think of Event Horizon and the way I thought while watching it. None of these people should have been allowed in space.
Oh, wait, hold on. I'm leaning back and I'm waiting for this one. Okay.
Any mental shape to be doing what they're doing. There's far too many secrets, far too much trauma, just far too much going on generally. They should not have been sent off into this situation. If some mentally healthy people with no trauma in their backgrounds have been sent, that story could have gone completely differently.
Wow.
Or even just one person going, hey, this is a bad idea. Maybe we should call in for support.
Wow. Okay. All right. Keep rolling, Sue, because you're 100% right on that one. I agree. I just never thought about it that way.
It's really strong.
And the other thing is, well, clearly it's built for action horror, but one of my favorite games that I've written was it's kind of a murder mystery. I actually called it CSI Weyland-Yutani. And so, yeah, it's got monsters, it's got horror in it, but at the same time, you're trying to solve a murder. And you've got Weyland-Yutani in the background who have very strong opinions on losing their corporate resources. And you know you're all going to be in deep trouble if you don't sort this out.
That sounds like a really cool idea for a scenario.
That really does, too, because the pressure of Weyland-Yutani, that looming shadow over you trying to drive this investigation is oh. I want to call out some things that Doc Tracy said because he articulated this far more eloquently than I did. And I'm scrolling up to recapture it because he said a lot. So, sorry, guys. Alien, it excels when you don't need to roll for human moments. Strong roleplay system. I actually agree. Alien hurts emotionally because you feel human. You actually feel powerless, which I think is absolutely true. Especially because the enemies are on a rolling table, not picking you apart surgically. That is also absolutely true. But I think he's especially stuck the landing on in Cthulhu, you expect to go insane. You really do. You walk into the table, it's like, and it does, at this point, it's almost like, what colorful way can I go insane today? In Alien, you're actually trying to survive the human condition. Which I know, right? To what Sue's point is, like, y'all shouldn't be out in space. Who did your screening to even let y'all out here? All right, here's some additional insurmountable horror. Now try to navigate yourself through that horror.
Yep. Yeah, that's good. I mean, actually, thinking about it, one of the better moments, kind of driven by that buddy rival system, and what Doc just said, was in the 3-shot I ran for you guys
Mm-hmm.
when your character found out Ucho's girlfriend was pregnant, and like you used that as a moment to snap them out of it because you were one of their rivals.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, she's pregnant. She's like, this is like the worst time to tell me that. Why would you tell me that now?
Right. Right. And she held on to it for a whole episode. There were like, she
Mhm.
held on to that for like a week or so.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm just gonna sit on this one. That's a liability we don't need right now. And also fuck him and his pregnant girlfriend. Oh, I need you to survive in this moment. Let's give you a moment of inspiration, buddy. Yeah, yeah. That's true. That's true.
so so in general, what's the play experience like as a player versus as a mother for this game?
I've got to
Ooh.
think back a while now.
And I
Ooh.
mean, if there's not much of a response to this, that's totally fine. I've literally only played this once. So I've played it once and that hooked me on the system. So I think that's pretty much my experience. But as a GM, I mean, kind of echoing what you said, Sue, I love the flexibility of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think one thing you get both as player and GM is not entirely knowing what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Because neither of us know what's going to happen when the monster rolls on its attack table.
That's so true.
Yep.
That's so true. Carl, kind of straddling your answer and then complimenting Sue's too. I've already indicated and articulated multiple times that I don't enjoy combat in games. I actually do enjoy combat in Alien. I do. I genuinely do. And it's because the versatility and the unpredictability that Sue has articulated on those tables. I think that just drives a narrative aspect of combat that makes it fun for me, both as a GM and as a player. Because, like, guys, one of the, to Sue's point, let me just actually hold on really fast. Just why we're here. Let me run and just pull up the xenomorph table for you guys really fast if I can't think of it off the top
Sure.
of my head. And if anybody has the page, let me know. Okay, here we go.
Would you say
This.
that you let, oh, sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
Would you say that I tend to think so? Would you say that you like combat in this game because it makes it about as narrative as combat can be?
Yeah, honestly, babe,
Like,
that's how I feel about it.
because for me, running a combat in this game doesn't feel like, being in D&D and rolling out the battle mat and the minis and stuff. It feels honestly like watching the really cool 5 minutes of Alien.
Yes, because
Like,
it's cinematic. The
mhm.
combats are cinematic. Yes, no, you're 100% stuck to landing, and this is why. Let's talk about the table that Sue called out. So you're in a combat with a xenomorph right now. Here are the D6 table that is out of Mother's hands. They roll, and this is what they get. To Sue's point, you can get something completely non-threatening with, like, you roll a 1. Hypnotizing gaze. The xenomorph, eyeless as it may seem, stares deeply into the soul of its victim. The victim is mesmerized by the dread beauty of such a beast. They stand in awe of what nature or God or the devil has created. Gain +1 stress, and you must make an immediate panic roll. That's stunning. Narratively, that is stunning. I can just read that and leave it alone. But if I want to do additional description, that's just a xenomorph staring at a human being for a whole round. And all of the cataclysmic terror that comes with it. Number 6 is a head bite. You die. Okay, have a great day. But like, one of my favorites on this chart that I love for narrative storytelling and combat is Deadly Grab. The beast launches into the air, grabbing its victim. Wait. Hold on. I might be. Yeah. Deadly Grab. The beast launches through the air, grabbing its victim. It attacks with 10 base dice. Damage 1. Ouch. If it hits, it immediately drags them into a neighboring zone, dumping them on the floor. The victim is prone, drops all handheld items, and must make an immediate panic roll. Guys, if you're in the middle of a major combat and then this thing grabs your buddy and takes off down the room with it, suddenly we got a much different story.
Yep.
And I love it. What if that person was holding your medical kit? What if that person was holding the keys to your blah, blah, blah? What if that person was like, what if that's a kid? I mean, it's just, that alone is just like, I'm going to take your friend and go to a different zone. All right. What do y'all do with that from there? It makes combat fun for me. If I'm asking things take away from a player and a mother, it makes combat fun because it's storytelling combat.
Yeah. There's an odd sense of neutrality too to running combats in it. Like
Oh,
I can run a really deadly encounter but still root for the PCs without having it swing one way or the other.
you're 100% right. I I relate to that statement. I just never realized it until now.
That makes a lot of sense because it feels kind of like you're watching an action horror movie, and obviously you want to root for the characters.
Yeah.
And it alleviates so much of the guilt because it's not on you. You didn't take that person to the other room.
Yep.
Not that most GMs really care, but there is some freedom to that because at that point as a mother, you're also a participant in the story from an observer standpoint. You're watching the
Yeah.
movie right along with the players.
Yeah. Yep.
Doc says the neutrality is real. Yes, it is. And it's like ambivalent, which is just delicious.
So you pull something weird or unexpected, and you'll still have 4 people call you a son of a bitch to your face. So
Yeah,
I don't
for
know.
For surezies. For surezies.
So do you are there any, so we've already talked rules, but I want to like dip back towards that. Are there any house rules that you guys have used to maintain the alien feel during gameplay? And it doesn't have to be anything major, but like small tweaks or like narrative things that you'd like to do.
I know Sue has a couple, and
I
I
think
forgot one of them, but I know I
so
like
the-
one of them.
Yeah, I think that the main one is just the only one panic per turn,
Yeah.
just to make sure that a combat doesn't completely descend into cascading panic.
Yeah, you're already in the suck spiral. We don't need you to go all the way down to the bottom on round 1.
Right.
We'll get there in a few rounds.
I think one revelation I had actually was when I was running that Colonial Marines scenario. I was trying to find a way to set up things that would be dangerous for the Marines in my party, and I had 5 Marines who were not in the party, and they were on a station that was full of xenomorphs. They were trying to clear a way to the exit shuttle. So while the player characters were like going into a shuttle bay to try and clear it out, the other Marines were basically doing a rear guard action for them. So instead of just having the xenomorphs bypass them or kill them real quickly, I had the players use the consumables rule on the squad.
Okay.
And for those of you who are not familiar, the consumables rule is basically you have a pool of dice representing your access to food, water, air, and any medicine, any one of a number of things. And every time you use it, you have to roll a dice, the die pool. For every 6 you roll, it goes away. You'll lose that point. So that was represented by every time I rolled a 6, that was one of their fellow party members getting picked off. Or not a party member, but one of their fellow Marines getting picked off. So they had a pool of 6. They had 1 sentry gun and 5 Marines watching their back, and a Marine made it out. So none of the player characters died, but they still walked out of that encounter with like 50% casualties and a couple of broken arms.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh. So guys, I will say this much. Alien can be very busy. There are a lot of rules that I don't necessarily house rule, but I ignore outright. One of them is the Sue's rule about hey, let's do the never-ending cascade of panic. Now you get that once. The other thing is I will not induce a panic if it didn't fucking make sense in the scene. So if a person has 3 stress die, but they're in a safe area and they are, I don't know, trying to hack a computer or something like that, where I don't want to deal with you hacked a computer and started screaming. Why?
Yeah.
Why are we here today? I'm just gonna skip it. If there's not any real risk of I will quickly omit or suppress a panic. This is gonna be kind of funky and funny, but here are a bunch of rules that I completely ignore outright. The panic rule. these are things that should initiate panic that I don't use. If you're attacked by a strange creature that you've never seen before, I usually skip panic on that one. I don't immediately roll a panic on that one. You're pinned down by a range attack. Nope, I skip panic for that one too. You suffer a critical injury. You're already critically injured. I'm not about to have you do a panic on top of that too. These are just panic rolls that I don't do. Fun little known roll. If you have ever rolled a 13 or higher on your panic score, at the end of the session, you're supposed to make an empathy check and then take a mental condition. I don't do that at all. I skip that completely. I don't want to deal with it. I'm just not in the mood. That's something that I don't do. And there's another big one that I'm just like, I just don't like it. And I can't think about what it is right now. If I think about it later, I'll throw it onto the Discord. But those are a few ways, and I'm just like, I'm just not dealing with that particular mechanic. I'm moving on with my day.
Yeah, that's a solid choice too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd not thought about it, but I also don't include a lot of those panic triggers. Because people are just panicking enough already.
Right.
I've done bits in early parts of scenarios where if they're fighting human opponents and they're coming under gunfire, I'll use that one.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me from a certain perspective, though I let the Marine in my group ignore that, assuming that they had been under fire before and were used to it. So they got a scene where they felt really cool because they kept getting shot at and they're like, this doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the roughneck is like, oh God, oh God, oh God.
Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Yep.
So, all right. Any other house rules you guys like to use?
Not a house rule, but a couple things I'm going to throw out that will aid you, or at least aids me in my storytelling with Alien. One, if you're streaming or podcasting it, do your initiative pools on the front end and just have them ready to go. It makes it so much easier. Just have all your players when they sit down, all pull their initiative deck or pre-roll their initiative, so you have that chart ready to go. So the second an incident does happen, you can just copy and paste it to everyone or show it as like, here's your initiative order. It saves a lot of time, especially because there's not a whole lot that affects your initiative score once it's been rolled or pulled from the deck of cards. Yeah. Something else that I have found to be extremely helpful is if you're playing in person or virtually, print out the stunts and just have those as a resource for your players, because it can slow down your momentum a lot. If you was like, make a piloting check, I got 4 successes. Okay, let's stop everything. You only needed 1 success to succeed, but your stunts give you 3 more options on this fun table. Which ones would you like to choose? That's a waste of time, because it's usually like I show off, I do it in half the time, I get a +2 on my next roll, I don't have to make, that's housekeeping that they can do themselves. So like, you got 3 successes, great. Do any of your immediate stunts apply to this scene? You show off, give me narrative, great. You keep those other 2 and just, do your own housekeeping. I have found giving people the stunts ahead of time helps, pre-rolling initiative ahead of time helps. So those aren't house rules, but those are 2 things that I do pretty consistently to help with my storytelling when I'm running Aliens or Alien.
Yeah. Plus, that's a lot of fun when you make that piloting roll and go, I succeed, and I'm going to take show off 3 times.
Bam! That's all
like,
you, boo-boo.
I just get a cool moment. I'm real good at this.
Right. Be remembered, boo-boo. Be remembered. Yeah.
So we've talked a lot about the setting and the mechanic. Oh, I'm sorry, Sue. Did you have anything else?
No.
Okay. One very brief note. I bet most people who have run this game system don't know this. There are space combat rules in this game.
There damn sure are.
They are very good. I have read a lot of games with space combat systems. They're shockingly good. Make sure they're relevant to your story, because you will not need them in like 90% of things. Yeah. But for the 10% of the time that they're there, they're really cool.
I hate to agree, but I'm going to. I wrote 1 game with a space combat, and I was just like, this is actually pretty neat.
Yeah.
Because it gives your classes individual things to do. Your piloting affects your roughneck. Mm-hmm. There's like different roles that you slip into, and then you start making rolls on that. You can also have like, there's your own panic table for piloting in space combat too, which is really fun too.
Yeah, if it goes well, it's basically all of your players high-fiving each other across the table.
Yeah. And when it goes poorly, narrative, beautiful things happen. Suddenly you have a breach in a hole. Well, who's going to go fix that one, and how does that look? It gets fun very fast.
Wow. Okay. I'm actually picking up on one of my favorite things about the system. The consequences in this game are mostly narrative. Like there's some severe consequences that can happen, but they're mostly narrative based.
Narrative consequences is good. That's a good key phrase to keep in my mind if I ever write my own art role playing game, because narrative consequences are just better for me. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've gone on for about an hour now.
Oh
So
yeah,
we're
we're at
gonna
time. Look at us.
yeah, so we're gonna try and bring this ship in for a little bit of a landing. Um, what's your guys' favorite moment from a game that you've run or participated in? Just like what's a top tier moment?
Oh, I have one.
Okay.
So like I said, I first played Chariot of the Gods at the local club, and my friend Andy was playing as well, and I managed to kill him twice in that scenario.
In
Once
the
when I
same
just left him to die, and then once in a more deliberate fashion later on. Different character, obviously, by then.
Okay, so you play the same scenario twice. I'm like, how did you leave
No,
him to die
it was
twice?
the same. It was the same scenario.
Okay,
Same game session.
gotcha.
Just his first character died thanks to
And then,
me, and then later on I killed him again. But
amazing.
then a few weeks later, I went to my local convention, Concrete Cow, and someone was running Hope's Last Day, so I signed up, and so did Andy. And we just got to near the end of the scenario. Me and Andy, our characters had both got off onto the spaceship and were on our way into space. And Andy was going, "I survived for the first time." At which point I said, "Sorry, Andy," and pressed the button to launch his cryopod into space. He still brings this up regularly.
Oh god,
Because
it's so
because
good.
because of a personal agenda.
Yep.
Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
it's awesome.
Gotta let him go. Poor Andy. I love it so much. Now we have a quota. How many times can we kill Andy in a game? Oh. One of my favorite moments in Alien ever is also still one of my top 5 role playing moments ever. Is that Hope's Last Day game that John Hook ran for Gen Con Online. We had just come in from the storm. We were inside of like this communications bay, and like we were separated by the metal door between us and the rest of the colony. So, comms were dark, and that was already weird and unsettling, and we couldn't get a hold of anybody, and that was uncomfortable. And then somebody hit the speaker on the wall, and there was static and screaming, and then a gunshot, and then everything went really quiet. And Bridgett was sitting at her laptop like, what the fuck? And then there's this quiet, and then John Hook describes like, okay, we hacked the comm center, and the door opens, and like, there are ceiling grates falling from the wall, and there's like melted metal beneath our boots, and there's like this sleeve of some creature that we can identify in the hallway, and Bridget's still sitting in her laptop like, what the fuck? And we turn this corner, and there's this long hallway of open doors with the blinking green light. And in the silence, John Hook describes that somewhere behind us, a cabinet tips over. And we can just hear from another room the cabinet fall off of the wall and onto the floor. And I don't know why, but Bridgett almost had to get up away from the table and take 5 minutes. Bridget's nervous system is activating right now, thinking about how I felt in that moment where the only thing that happened was terror, dread, and a cabinet tipping over. I've never gotten that in a Call of Cthulhu game, but something about Alien will have you like, and
Yeah,
it's still one of my favorite moments in storytelling and horror.
that's awesome. I'm gonna have to remember that.
Oh yeah,
Just
tip
having
over
something,
cabinet.
yeah, tip over a cabinet, have something random fall over for no apparent reason.
Yeah,
Love it.
and then have everyone look at each other like, "Are you gonna go check it out?" No.
I think I got a couple of moments, but keeping it to Alien specifically, I think my favorite one was the whole narrative scene that played out in the game I ran for Symphony, where you found the claim jumper who had a face hugger on him,
Yeah.
and you're like, well, we don't know what's going on with him. He's got some kind of allergies or something. So you put him in like the hardened compression suit.
Yeah.
And so you're talking with him for like the better part of 2 days. And then we have the chest burster moment, which I never actually thought I would play out one, which was great. But then I got to describe how horrible that would be if you're locked in an armored spacesuit. So this thing is half out and then trying to like get its way out of the suit.
Yeah.
And it ended up being a great scene, mostly because the four of you played into it so beautifully.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
like there was some stress and panic, but everybody was freaking out in a very specific way.
Yeah.
And that's where one of my the favorite rule came in, where it was just like, well, I'm just going to put this guy out of his misery. Okay.
Empathy.
No, you succeeded on your empathy check. You can't.
Yeah.
Why? It's like, he's still alive technically.
Yeah. Yeah. Ugh. Such an unsettling moment. Yeah.
So, assuming that after listening to us go on for about an hour, people still want to play this game, what's the best first step to do so?
I'm just going to go sign up for a game.
Yeah.
Just sign up for a game. If you can't find one on like the Good Friends of Jackson Alliance server, find out where Sue is running games. Sue is one of the best storytellers I know out there right now. If not, go to Start Playing Games and go pay $5 to go join a game, because they got a fuck ton of Alien running on Start Playing Games, and at least with a paid GM experience, you know that GM is going to show up and actually provide the experience. So, all jokes aside, don't overthink it. Don't walk in with the same prejudices whatever that the three of us did. Just go play the game. A 2-hour session to be worth your time to test your flavor or your palate to see if this is a flavor that you enjoy.
Yeah.
And if you do enjoy it, the core book is all you need to get started. Obviously, there is a starter
Yeah.
set, which I haven't got, so I can't really comment on it. But the core book is all I needed.
I definitely agree that the core book is all you need, but I will shill for Free League a little bit here. The starter set is amazing.
Starter set is strong.
Yeah, you get the dice, you get cards, you get everything that you could possibly want to run the game.
Yep.
And a good scenario to start out with. So like if you want to get in with no work, highly recommend the starter set. But the core book is also a must have. Like if you're
agree.
It's got so much about the setting in there.
Also, y'all free. Oh, go ahead, Sue. Sorry.
If you're going to run it at in-person conventions, the card deck is worth picking up.
Yeah,
agreed.
It's nice having the initiative cards, and the weapon cards are really handy because you can pass them around between players as well.
Also agreed.
And I also have some bags of little plastic skull beads, which I use as health and stress trackers. I think it really cements how little health you've got when you've just got two little skulls sitting in front of you.
Yes, that's a good one, because that is your hit point, guys. It's your same as your strength score, and that's usually like 1, 2, 3, or 4. Those are your hit points. Good luck.
Yeah.
Another thing I would recommend is if you are gaming on a budget, you're a broke gamer, whatever it is, Free League loves a damn sale. Don't pay full price for it ever. Just wait 3 months. They're going to have a sale. It'll be either the Cosmic Horror sale or the Black Friday sale or the New Year's Eve sale or the Memorial Day sale. They love putting their shit up for like 40 to 50% off. Just wait for it.
Yeah, they're very reliable that way.
Oh yeah, they're like Vistaprint. A sale is coming.
Yeah. Well, any final words before we wrap this up? All good?
No, I think that was a good roundtable. Sue, anything on your end?
Yeah. No, I think it's been a really good discussion.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Carl, well done, baby. Do you have anything else to wrap up on your end? Otherwise, I'll close us out.
No, I'm good. I'm good to go. We covered basically everything I wanted to chat about.
Yeah, you did. You put together a really strong itinerary. So Symphony, welcome to the very first RPG System Roundtable. If you have suggestions, feedback, criticisms, compliments, feel free to let us know on the Discord under the Symphony Coaching Series. We'd absolutely love to hear it. Depending on how the feedback and the engagement goes on this, we may be rolling out one of these once a quarter, once a month. We have a little hot list of other systems that we would like to do a roundtable on. Call of Cthulhu, of course, Cthulhu Dark, Dread, Mothership, and a few other ones, Pirate Borg. So if there's another system you would like to see us do a roundtable on, or if you would like to lead a roundtable, or you would like to be a participant in a roundtable, it's Symphony. Just send me a message on Discord or shoot me an email, and then we'll find a way to make it work. So thank you so much for joining us on for us, it's a sunny, Yeah, sunny Thursday afternoon. Poor Sue was eating her dinner at the point that we launched this stream. So, Sue, thank you so much for coming back onto the Symphony.
Yeah.
Carl, you're incredible. Thank you so much for coming up with the idea. This is absolutely amazing. Symphony, if you would like to support us and help us make more content like this, please consider backing us on Patreon. That's patreon.com/Symphony Entertainment. We would definitely, deeply appreciate it. Check out Alien the RPG. Sign up for Free League's newsletter. They send out a lot of them. And then thank you so much for joining us, guys. Y'all have a wonderful night. Bye.
Bye.